Dynamic potential should be one of the best parts of career mode. If a player performs well during the season and gets plenty of playtime minutes, his potential should increase beyond what they start off with. It makes total sense, right? Well, today I'll be looking at how dynamic potential should work, finding out what actually causes potential growth, and finding out if this actually works at all. The idea behind dynamic potential is good. Some players have hilariously low potential, like how at the start of the season, Cole Palmer had just 81. If you have a good season with someone like him, he should grow into a good Premier League player. But thanks to dynamic potential, you can take him even further. And if you have a couple of good seasons, that means instead of getting just a good Cole Palmer, you can play with an elite Cole Palmer. In fact, because of the amount of growth he's shown this year, we're actually going to be using Cole Palmer and his new higher potential of 86 for our experiments today. We're going to simulate a season, change some things around, and then have a look at how Palmer's potential changes. Okay, so this is how Palmer has done in our standard season. It's a pretty decent year where he got 20 goals and 20 assists, which is really not bad for a player rated in the 70s. If we open FIFA Live Editor right here, we can have a look at a lot of his information, but if we zoom in on this, you'll see his current overall and his potential. You can also see this is correctly showing 86, which is his regular potential on the day that I recorded this video. So now we're going to skip over into the next year and see how his potential's changed once dynamic potential has taken place. I'm hoping that after a season like this, it's increased by at least 2. And okay, right here you can see that his potential is now up to 89. That's a pretty big jump from a pretty good season, and it takes him from being someone who can get to Maddison's level to someone who can get to Bellingham's level. That's quite a big difference when you think about it. So now we know potential can be updated, and it does actually work inside FC24. You can't really say the same about FIFA 23 and FIFA 22 because this was broken for a long time. But let's figure out what has the biggest impact on dynamic potential. We can change a few things here, and I'm going to have a look at goal output and form first. If goals make a difference, then surely that's quite unfair for defenders and midfielders, whereas if form is the only thing that matters, then it can actually make bringing players on off the bench a little bit pointless. Okay, first of all, let's change the amount of goals that Cole Palmer scored last season. Instead of scoring about 20 goals, instead now, we've made it that he scored 50 goals, which is a real messy tier season, so surely that potential should grow by at least 4. Okay, and this time, we actually got +5. He's now a 91 potential player, which proves that player performances really do matter, which honestly, I'm a little bit surprised about. I thought the biggest thing would be average rating, which in this example, we didn't actually change from the first one. I did the exact same thing again, this time changing Palmer's average rating and keeping the same 50 goals, and he also grew by 5 overall. This makes me think that it is strictly output that affects a player's rating, but of course, I'm going from a sample size of just 1. One disappointing thing that I noticed was that the AI players will never have any changes. It doesn't matter how many goals they score, how many assists they get, clean sheets, what they win, or what team they're playing from. Every single player not at your club will keep the same potential into the second season. This means you'll never get a Jamie Vardy rising from non-league to be an 85 rated player in the Premier League unless they begin with that amount of potential or you're the one that's in control. Okay, so now we know that form doesn't really matter if you want to increase potential. What else do we know that can actually change potential? Well, there is a chance that it either increases or decreases every time you sign a player, and it's the same when you send them out on loan. The loan system can be exploited really badly with lots of short-term loans because you can send a player out multiple times per window. Every time you send them out, there's the chance to increase their potential by up to 5 points. Let's say you can do this 5 times in the summer transfer window, that means you can get up to 25 points of potential if you're very lucky by doing this and getting the maximum amount. As we've seen, player happiness also affects overall growth, but I don't think it actually does make any difference for dynamic potential. Of course, try and keep all 4 of the morales green on every player for the best chance of them improving, but it is fairly random if this will increase potential or not. To give EA some credit, the amount of increase is also kind of reliant on squad roles too. If you have a young player that's meeting the crucial player's requirements and gets a big green thumb up, their potential can also go up. If you're getting a thumb down and the average rating or game time requirements haven't been met, then the potential can go down slightly. I do like this because it does make sense to give every player the highest role you can realistically use them in. If you have a team full of 16-year-olds who are all crucial, on average they will actually improve slower than a team of the exact same players who are all on sporadic contracts. This also does kind of backfire though, because as always, this system hasn't really been fully thought out. Very young players in particular are prone to flopping because they are unlikely to get the game time or play as well as players that are older can. So let's say that you have an exciting prospect who is 16 years old. If you give them 10 games in the Premier League and they don't play too well, then the game might only judge them as playing okay or put them in poor form. Not only would a teenager playing this much in the Premier League be very impressive in real life, in fact, I can only really think of Rooney, Milner, Fabregas and Owen who did better than this, but they'll probably get downgraded in potential just because they're not in good form. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I guess it's just one of those things. There are a few other things that don't really make sense. I mean, I don't think it's fair that a team fighting relegation is more likely to have potential loss in their players than a successful team in the league below, because players in real life do get more experience playing at the bottom of the Premier League than the top of the Championship. In FIFA, this is reversed, but I guess you can't win them all. It's also a bit weird that attackers do get more average rating boost for one goal than a defender would for a clean sheet. It makes it kind of hard to boost the potential on your defensive players, but I guess you are going to score a couple of corner goals here and there, so I don't want it to be too overpowered. I do think it'd also be a good change if academy player potentials were lower on average than they are at the minute, because on day 1 of FC24, you only have 20 players who are under 17 with over 85 potential. Chances are, your academy will have more than this in one season, and I feel like that's what the dynamic potential system is actually in the game to do. If you bring through a player who's got low potential but they are actually playing really well, that's the whole point of the dynamic system, because it should improve as they play well. Instead, what we get is they start off at a high point with really high potential, and then they just keep improving on top of this. It kind of snowballs, and eventually you're going to end up with teams that have a bunch of 90 plus rated players, which isn't really going to happen in real life. With these changes and a little bit of rebalancing, I really do think dynamic potential could be an amazing idea, but honestly, I'm surprised it works as well and makes as much sense as it does already, because a lot of career mode really doesn't. Hopefully I didn't go too rambly on the last half of this video, and if you enjoyed it, do like the video and subscribe for more. But thank you for watching, really do appreciate it. I'll see you soon, cheers and goodbye.